Well, I'm sad, and I raised objection because I felt that the government has not been truthful enough to us. And there are enough documentation to prove that.
Okay.
I mean, I just have the budget here. And I don't know if you have a copy of the budget. You can just go to paragraph 264. They were very clear in their mind that they do not intend to increase the levies. It was clear. And with your permission, I can read it. Consequently, without increasing the levy, we will also review the Energy Sector Levies Acts to consolidate the Energy Sector Debt Recovery Levy, Energy Sector Recovery Levy, Delta Fund, Sanitation and Pollution into one levy and use the proceeds to cater for the energy sector shortfalls and service the inherited debt service obligation. This is what they told us. But they came back to Parliament to increase it. We also told, if you recall, and I've read it here, the memorandum that accompanied the amendment, that this money is going to be used to buy fuel and also pay legacy debts, even in the budget. But it's very clear to everybody that this money is not going to pay any legacy debts. It's just going to be used to purchase fuel. Just recently, just 2-3 days ago, PURC has also come out to say that they are increasing electricity by 2.45%. In fact, one of the factors they applied in getting to this level was fuel. So I'm very clear in my mind that they were not candid enough with the Ghanaian people. I was hoping that the suspension would have been upheld. In fact, we even called for a repeal of this 1 Ghana cedi. But it seems government is bent on doing it. What else can we do? They've already passed the bill into an act. The president signed it. It came to Parliament under a certificate of urgency. The president has signed it. We were told that because of the Iran-Israel war, it's been suspended. Now I can see that the turbulence in that area has subsided a little bit, and that is why they are back.
It's a 6-day cessation.
Yes, I don't know whether it can resurface again. What happens if it resurfaces? Are they going to suspend it again? Everybody was also worried that there were no sunset clause in the amendment. What it means that it can be in perpetuity, So I'm not for it. I've made my point very clear because I believe very strongly that government was not clear and candid with the Ghanaian people, even from the onset, reading from the budget, from the memorandum that accompanied the levies up to this point. So I wish that this burden is not pushed onto the Ghanaian people. And one of the reasons, if you recall, was that the cedi had stabilized. Yes, but now you are seeing a little bit of a jump in the exchange rates. Some quoting 12, some quoting 13. What is the effect of that? Because we're told that because of the gains we're making with the exchange rate, this will not have any major effect. Even without this in play, fuel prices went up just yesterday. Diesel by 5%, petrol by 2%. If this is implemented by the 16th, you can be rest assured that the next pricing window, will reflect this additional 1 cedi per litre, which gives you about 4.5 cedis per gallon. The burden on the Ghanaian people is getting a little bit tough, and it's my prayer that government will come through for the Ghanaian people. I just made mention of the VAT on non-life insurance, 15%, which kick-started yesterday. 2.45% electricity kick-started yesterday. 7% of plastic kick-started yesterday. And now, by the 16th, which is in 2 weeks' time, we are going to have another 1 cedi on petroleum products. That, for me, is going to be a significant burden. And I just hope that the government will listen to what we are saying. I think this particular levy is a little bit too much for the Ghanaian people.
What would you suggest to be the alternative? What would you have done if you were in the shoes of the
minister
government?
was in Parliament, and we did indicate to him that we are in full support of his reforms policy. He indicated to us that he intends to carry out a major reform within the energy sector, particularly ECG. Yesterday, we met a couple of, and I don't have their permission to, and we are seeing
Are they industry players?
Industry players.
Okay.
And we are seeing some improvement in the cash waterfall mechanism. That is significant. If the cash waterfall can continuously rake in a little bit more, probably you may not even need this additional funding. Number two, the system losses within ECG, which is also a key driver. Before they even sell, they've already lost about 30%. That is something that government must quickly as possible, look at. We were told that there's a committee that has been put together to look at the privatization, private participation. There's a difference. The private participation of the retail end of ECG's operations. I am for it. I think that we should bring some more efficiency within that aspect of ECG's operations. The last point is the renegotiations with the IPPs. If you look at the documentation, clearly government was in a rush at that particular point in time. And they were on the back foot, and I must admit, because at the time, Doomsor was at its peak and they could not negotiate as expected. In the budget, this current budget, they've indicated that they want to continue the renegotiations. I am expecting that as quickly as possible, they are able to conclude that process, because that is also having a big toll on the finances of the energy sector. If you look at the PRC statement, now PRC will be charging as part of their tariff, reserve, the reserve margins. PRC has factored it into our tariff calculation. Take or pay contracts, plants there not being used, we are paying for it, we are buying the fuel and all that. I think government should quickly as possible conclude that negotiation. That for me will rake in a lot more respite for the Ghanaian people. And these are the things that I believe that government should be focusing on, rather than continuously increasing the tariffs and levies on petroleum products. Yeah. I'm working with some colleague of mine on a paper. I just want to look at the entire levies on petroleum products, those that we feel are not as relevant as very relevant now, because the purpose for which it was introduced, you could see clearly that we are not seeing it being used very well. We are doing a paper to push some advocacy to see whether government can rethink and relook at those things. Some of them were even introduced by my government, but on hindsight, we realize that no, some tweaking can be done. And I think when we are done with the paper, I'll share with you and see how government is going to look at it. But clearly, I don't think an additional burden on the Ghanaian people is necessary at this time.
So how are we going to... So you have a situation where the energy sector debt, we're told, has ballooned to about 3 point... In fact, that's the two figures that have been bandied around. I don't know which is which, but one we had 3.1 billion, some cases were 3.7 billion US dollars. This is a debt which is a Ghanaian debt. We ought to clear it. And every day when you wake up, the independent power producer, IPPs, are complaining about how they are indebted, the government is not paying them what's due them, and so on and so forth. And they are threatening to shut down their plants, and the government has to rush and find some money somewhere and pay them, And then also, again, yes, indeed, you've talked about how much we're buying the power from them. And I've heard John Jinapo, for instance, say that they don't have any option. They themselves would have to review the prices at which they're selling these, the commodity to us. Otherwise, if you sell it dearly or expensively, would also struggle to pay. So you don't have any option. You'd have to come down for us to be able to reach some kind of a middle point. But those things are medium to long term. But immediately, we have a problem to deal with. And the problem we have to deal with is the debt. We also have a problem to deal with how much we're even procuring crude oil for these plants to be able to operate, okay? And until the PURC factored in some amount of the amounts that we're using to procure oil, which is the liquid oil, into liquid fuel, into the tariff, build-up, we were actually depending on central government to buy that. And that's what's, the Eswaleku administration did, of which you were a member, we're told, because I'm told it was the president said, look, if you add it, it would have far-reaching implication on how much you're going to pay for tariffs. So take it out. But then what it means is that government would have to find money from somewhere to buy this particular commodity. These are clearly things that you cannot wait. Once all of these structural, adjustments are being made. So how do you deal with the current?
Is the solution the one Ghana cedi?
I mean, they've done their modeling.
No, but the modeling clearly is telling us, and the minister himself has stated to us
about 5.
that the one cedi will rake in just 5.7 billion.
5.7 billion, yes.
Which is not even enough to buy the fuel.
Right.
So the debt you are talking about, the solution is not the one Ghana cedi. That's the point I'm making. The solution is not the one Ghana cedi. If you want to deal with the debt, it's not the one Ghana cedi that you're talking about.
Right.
Because clearly you are being told that the one Ghana cedi will rake in a certain amount, which is not even enough to take care of fuel, let alone talk about legacy debt. I was happy when the NDC manifesto indicated that they intend to reference the energy sector debt.
Okay.
Take it as a government debt off the books of the energy players. So they have a level playing field. And then government will find a way to deal with the debt separately. As it sits on the books of...
But we rake the debt every second.
No, but when you take off, when you put in the structures,
yes.
Just like now the cash waterfall is raking in quite a substantial amount. Yes. That's, I don't want to use the right word, the balances that are left on a daily basis. I'm sure with the increments in the cash waterfall, those ones can be taken care of. The daily ones can be taken care of. So that the legacy debt is ring-fenced, look at it, we have a discussion about it, and see how best to take care of it. As it stands now, they still sit on the books. My point is that if you want to deal with the debts now, it's not the one thing.
No, what I call it, see, we are accruing this debt for two reasons. One is that we, even as consumers, are not paying the right price. When I say the right price, the context, i.e., how much ECG is buying the product from, the power producers, right? And selling it less than what we're supposed to.
So how do you deal with that? You deal with that by negotiating, going back to renegotiate.
So I'm saying that until that happens, we'll continue to pay less than what we're supposed to pay. No, and today there will always be issues of
it should be
under recovery.
It should be a major priority.
Okay.
To ensure that because you've seen that is a major issue.
Okay.
You have to ensure that as quickly as possible
deal with
that. ASAP. That is something that you have to deal with. Otherwise, you have an issue as you are putting it. So deal with that immediately. And then the reforms within ECG. Listen, there are customers who say ECG Brabeji Usika.
Yeah.
There's nobody's even bailing them. Those structural reforms, and I'm saying that we in the minority in full support of the reforms that the minister talked about. In fact, today I've seen a question by the minority leader to the energy minister for him to come and explain further the reforms that he talked about, which in principle we are for.
Okay. So I talked about one aspect of the under recovery. There's also, of course, when we talk about technical losses, we're talking about commercial.
Yes,
system
losses. Yes.
Technical and commercial. You just cited a typical example of a commercial loss where people have used the commodity, they're looking for you to come and collect your money, and that one is a problem. And so the monies are staying with them. But that's one aspect of it. But you can't technical losses, no. Where you are producing 100% and you're only able to deliver 40 or 70%.
No, but technical losses normally is related to infrastructure.
Yes.
So
which will take, we're told, some billions of dollars to fix.
But you see, because
the machines are obsolete.
Yes, but you see, all those things should have been done on a gradual basis. Of course, there's been some major investments. In transmission.
By
Gridco. There's been major, but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
So yes.
So we're still losing power.
You lose power. If you have an old transformer. Until I went to the ministry, I didn't even know that meters have expiry dates. I didn't even know that after 5-10 years,
you can't use
it cannot calculate as properly as it should be.
Yes.
And so you could have a situation where you use about 3,000 worth of electricity, but you are billed 1,000. Yes. So those are technical losses.
And in fact, there are even cases where I know somebody it was just recently that the ECG people came and took care of the person. The person's meter expired.
Yes.
And she kept complaining to me that, look, I've been calling ECG to come and blah, 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 and it's not happening.
And if you realize there was a situation where they brought these new smart meters.
Yes.
Then your bill goes up.
Yes.
Your thinking will be that, why is that my bill has gone up? It's because you are now being charged the realistic price.
Because I'm told the new meters...
You are now being charged the realistic one.
Actually take... The new meters are very sensitive.
Very sensitive. So even if you plug if you switch on your plug and there's not for your socket.
Yes.
And you've not even put in.
Oh, it will read. It will read.
It will continue to read. Yes.
Whereas the other ones will read.
The other ones, if the meter is obsolete, you realize that it's unable to capture.
Yeah.
All those are losses.
We call it Usain Bolt.
Yes, all those are losses.
Meters.
Yes, but how do you take care of those technical losses? It's investment.
Yeah.
To change the.
And my argument is that we're not there yet, so we'll continue to experience these system losses, technical losses. Who pays for that one?
The painful aspect is that as a consumer, I'm going to see myself. You are imposing fuel 2.something%.
Yes, ESLA levy.
But when I go home, the kind of service that I need from ECG,
you don't get.
Is a problem. So others are also complaining about the commensurate level of service as against the amount of money I'm paying.